Hi chess friends, this is King's Executor covering another game from the first round of the Tata Steel tournament 2013 at Wijk aan Zee between Sergej Karjakin, rated 2780, against the female Yifan Hou, rated 2603. Karjakin is a very strong supergrandmaster, and he is quite young, as there are many young grandmasters in the Group A of this year's Tata Steel tournament. And actually, the 12th of January, which is the when the first round was played, is Karjakin's birthday, and if my math isn't too poor, I think he turned 21. And Yifan Hou is a little bit younger. I guess that she's 19, if I didn't calculate wrong. Okay, Sergej Karjakin won the Tata Steel tournament before. It was in 2009, and I'm looking forward to see his scoring in this tournament. Okay, this game is a very sharp game, and it's, I guess, the most interesting game of Group A's games on round 1. So, Karjakin had the white pieces, and the third best female player in the world and best junior player, female junior player in the world, Hou, responded with the French. Okay, we have the classical variation here. E5, knight to d7. This has been around for centuries. And in this position, by far the most common move is f4. Really strong holding the white center. And this is really a move which black has to struggle against. This is really solid and difficult for black to break through against. c5, knight to f3, normal developing moves, and bishop e7, giving black the opportunity to castle if wanted. Bishop e3, strong holding the pawn on d4. b6. Well, this has mostly the idea of exchanging black's supposedly bad bishop in the French. Well, it's the bad bishop because it's on the same color as the central pawns, and this makes this bishop, at least at the early stage of the game, a bad piece. And if you see white's pawns, they are on dark squares, which makes the light squared bishop of white the better bishop of both of the bishops, and this is why the exchange of this maybe worst piece at the early stage of the game against the best piece at the earliest stage of the game is a very good positional idea, which is not new, but yeah, b6 also, of course, would make taking on c5 a very stupid idea, which would be a stupid idea. Okay, it's not really a stupid idea, but it would really help white. Let's say it would help black. Let's say knight to c6 here, and we would take and take. You would really increase black's activity with pulling his pieces further in the center. This is not the way to play. Not in any opening. You can even prepare this, and this brings you nowhere. So b6 is a very good move. Bishop to e2, preparing to castle. Bishop to d3 would be possible as well, and maybe provoking even c4, which would be good for white, because now the play is on the king side. Sorry, I'm not drunk. And you see the bishops really point at black's king side, and the queen side for black is really attackable with b3, and c4 is really a bad move in this position. But bishop e2 is an okay move as well. And now we see this idea of exchanging doing this really favorable exchange for black. White castled, and Yifan Hou took on e2, and Karjakin recaptured with the knight, giving himself the opportunity to play c3 or c4 even. And yeah, Hou played knight to c6 here. Well, in the French, it's really difficult in this position really to gain any advantage whatsoever. It's really difficult because white is really solid, and the white pieces are more flexible, and yeah, they are more flexible as the black than the black pieces. And though these pawns seem to block in the bishop, f5 could soon be in the mix, and yeah, knight to c6 was the choice of Hou, but there is another possibility for black to play this position. Knight to a6, c4. c4 was played by Karjakin in the actual game continuation, but let's look at this way to react to it by black first. This is just my analysis here. A knight back to c7, really strongholding black's center. b3, rook to c8 because of the foreseeable opening of the c file. And now knight back to c3, and putting more pressure onto black. And now castles is a good move. Queen to e2, connecting rooks. And now knight b8, rerouting it to c6. Well, why not knight to c6 immediately 4 or 5 moves beforehand? Well, the knight on c7 is ready to hop into d5 after several exchanges. So this has maybe a higher priority than playing a knight to c6 immediately. So this way around, black could be more solid. Rook to d1, really opposing the black queen. And if knight to c6, we can open we can open the file for the rook here. Well, at least it's semi-opened. If black recaptures, f5 now. Really a good move, pressurizing the black center. And there's no ideas of d4 to fork white's light pieces, but f6 now to really destroy the white center. Well, white would react with takes on d5, and after recapturing, maybe even gaining space with e6, and black would try to gain space for his part, and bishop to c1, and there's no taking on c3 because of the pin. Knight d5 trying to exchange, and knight to e4. And you see there's no knight outpost because these squares are covered, and this would just lose a pawn for black. So this position is rather equal, but of course it's not very comfortable to play this. You see, this bishop has now become a bad bishop itself, and this is why I said the light squared bishop in the early stage of the game is a bad bishop, but it can turn out to be a strong piece later on after the complications of destroying the center is reached. Yeah, this would be maybe a better try than the actual game continuation, because in this position knight c6 was played immediately. Knight to a6 to c7 was my recommendation. Knight to c6 was played by Hou, and Karjakin played c4 now. And in this position I think it's even a little bit stronger for white. Takes and pushes in the center and takes here, and you see now black center looks not as solid as in the analysis I've shown you. If knight to b4, what Hou played, queen takes pawn, and now you see white has a pawn in the center and black has none. And Hou really tried to push here with b5, but this is a really weakening move. Black hasn't castled yet, and he's opening up the game by such gambits. Well, Karjakin declined it for now and centralized his queen. Queen c8, keeping in touch with the a8 rook. And now Hou tried to exchange the queens. Karjakin accepted, but you see Hou just lost a pawn for nothing. Rook b8. Well, Hou tried to find counterplay by gambiting this pawn, but we have knight check, and you see the king hasn't even got the opportunity to castle. Well, black looks active on the second rank, but after centralization of the heavy pieces, you see there's this dormant rook, and this is really what gives white the advantage, at least this factor. Rook to e8. Well, it looks uncomfortable to have your king naked on the queen's flank squares. Okay. In the game, Karjakin played rook to c1. Maybe rook to b1 would be a little bit more accurate. Rook takes a2 would be a huge mistake due to this penetration of the 7th rank. And if black has to protect his piece, takes, and now you see black loses material. So black really has to would have to take this rook. Bishop f8, and now you see white's pieces come all over black. f5 here, a very good move. You see this bishop has no future whatsoever in the next 10 moves at least. And king c8, freeing the c6 knight and the other knights of the other knight of defending the b8 square. And now you just stronghold your passed pawn on the king side. Okay, black has passed pawns too, but I think they aren't going nowhere at this stage. King g2, just getting out of any knight checks. And if bishop to d6, protecting and getting activated, you just get your pieces into the center, and exchanges even don't help you a lot. You see h4, and it's clear that white should be even winning this position. h4, and this is very good for white. Okay, so Karjakin didn't play rook to b1, he placed it to c1, and how took the pawn? Well, knight to e2. What is this move about? Maybe Karjakin was heading to play knight to e4, and I think Hou just desperately tried to free her position with g5. Knight to e4 now. Takes, and now takes on c5. And after knight takes c5, you see there's a huge problem with the king stuck in the middle. And Hou again tries to push really hard with rook to g8. Now this is a very sharp situation, and rook to g8 is really a blunder. I don't know if Hou was under time pressure already, but I think in this defensive and cramped positions it's easier to blunder. Karjakin played g3, a very good move. Well, why would I give black a pawn and undouble his really awkward doubled pawns here? Well, just to give him no counterplay whatsoever with h3. h3 really gives white a shield here, and white's king is safe forever. In conjunction with the very, very vicious threat of knight to f6, forking the rook on g8 and the knight on e7, in conjunction with the rook on d1, pinning the knight to the king. So this would lose material. But if king to g7, check, again check, and the knight is falling. So if rook to g7 loses the knight, you might as well take the pawn and lose the rook here, and maybe try to hold on with your knights and pawns. But you see how is getting nowhere. She even queened a pawn, but really she came nowhere. And you see white's pieces are fully coordinated here, and okay, this is clearly lost already. White is a piece up and the pawns are falling, and after knight takes h6, Yifan Hou resigned to Sergej Karjakin. So a very nice win. I think the feature of this game is clearly that black didn't castle, and before castling, Hou opened up the game, and this is a really bad idea to do. Let's just find the position after b5. I think this is already the losing move here. But I think it's simply desperate. After c4, well, I think this position is simply difficult. If you castle here, then takes, and recapture here, then knight to c3 strong, and you see the d pawn could become really weak here. But black could try to hold on. Takes, and I think this is a way better position to play than the actual game continuation. Okay, a nice win for Karjakin. Maybe he's heading for the win again, but I think with Magnus Carlsen and other strong and young grandmasters, we have some play left. This is the first round still. So comment please, and like the video if you did. Subscribe, tell a friend, and keep it up with your clicks. Thanks.